Hey friends, this is Waylon Lewis. I'm here in Boulder, Colorado, about to interview, talk with one of my, he feels like a buddy, but one of my favorite people. We've connected a few times before over the years. Right now he's at Kripalu leading an amazing program that we'll hear a little bit about, but we want to talk about some larger and heartfelt issues around we're going to get into it, but equity, justice, racism, the George Floyd anniversary is coming up. And so we got Reggie Hubbard. He's a wonderful guy. All right, Reggie,
Hey, brother.
you're on that Western Mass Wi-Fi, so I wish
Yeah,
you luck.
I'll go as slow as I can.
Yeah, 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 and that's convenient because I'm pretty slow myself. So Reggie, what's going on? What do you want to get into and enlighten us about? Because I'm here for it.
Well, I mean, I'm excited to see you again, excited to be in community. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be, I'm at Kripalu leading the first ever healing retreat for men of color. We got about 20 brothers here in conversation, but basically just focused on healing, right? So like it is purposely held during the week of the anniversary of George Floyd. And I chose to host this at Kripalu because this is all of our problem. Many people are like, oh, that happened 3 years ago and now it's somebody else's problem. It's not, because Black people aren't the only people who are impacted by racism. Even white people are impacted by racism, just in different ways, and if we're talking about this from a Buddhist perspective, like delusion is a root cause of suffering, right? So thinking that my pain is not your pain is a delusional thought, which like perpetuates my suffering and yours as well.
Reggie, I so appreciate that. I've been, as a white boy, I've been really thinking about that, but I don't know how to articulate it as a white person, saying like, look, racism and hate is bad for the oppressor too, but I don't know how to say that without, I'm not trying to say sympathy for the devil exactly, but
Right.
we have to stop kind of coasting on our privilege, especially when it's hateful.
Right. And the thing is that there are more people who understand it, but people get caught in the shame cycle. You know what I mean? Like they don't have the words, so they draw back and then they draw back and then they want to pretend like it's not there. And then when they pretend like it's not there, it just perpetuates harm because there are people like myself who want all of us to heal. Like I'm glad that we're having this conversation across lines, racial lines or whatever, because like we're here, I'm here for you, you're here for me. And the myth of separation that we have just because our skin color is different is perpetuating like tremendous suffering in our nation. Because if I don't feel safe around you and you don't feel safe around me, then we're stuck at an impasse. But if we become more vulnerable and willing, if I'm willing to share from my experience and you're willing to hear with an open heart and a clear mind, there's a lot of stuff that can happen there.
I bet it's delightful. So why, I love that you're doing this retreat because, communities need to have quality time to heal together.
Yeah.
Brothers of color, but why would you do a retreat with all races and genders and all that too?
I definitely would, because I would, and I think that there needs to be affinity healing first.
Yeah.
And after affinity healing, where you both have this grace, but most importantly, the space to hold space for that middle ground of what you don't understand. Because I could say the wrong thing, turn somebody off, and they're never going to want to talk about this again. Whereas, like, I'm a Black dude who grew up in the burbs and went to Yale, right? And so, like, I've got an acute ability to talk to everybody. And so if I don't use my superpower of translating Black experience into white language, then nobody heals, and I can't call myself a teacher. I can't call myself a Buddhist practitioner if I don't step into that middle ground and create opportunity for shared community sangha around difficult subjects, right? So like I can't call myself teacher or practitioner if I don't step into that. And if I don't model vulnerability, then who's going to want to talk to me?
Exactly. And I hope, in my less superpower way to also model, I said, I warned you that I would probably ask some dumb questions, but I feel like we all need to be willing to be a little bit tentative and clumsy and vulnerable and have these conversations, because as you were saying, I was just looking at some of your videos, you know, the anniversary is coming up of George Floyd's murder, and it went from this national moment to something we kind of want to forget about and move on, because it's, you know, but this can't just become like a black issue anymore. It has to be, all of us have to care, because we really started educating and changing in that moment. It was so exciting and kind of joyful. Like George Floyd, his awful murder gave this country an opportunity, a moment of gap where we were all so shocked at that blatant display of murder, you know, impunity, as you said.
Yeah, and so it's 3 years ago seems like so long yet so close, right?
Yeah.
And for many of us, like myself included, it's never 3 years away because of the color of my skin. I always have to be concerned. I always have to be vigilant. You know, it doesn't matter about my credentials. It doesn't matter that I'm at Kripalu right now. It doesn't matter that I went to Yale. It doesn't matter that I used to work for Bernie Sanders or at the White House. That doesn't matter. Like, because in the wrong neighborhood at the wrong time, like some joke can come and just like gat me or whatever. So that's why I'm so vigilant about sharing all of this with each of us. Because
I just want to acknowledge the power of what you're saying, because there's like no hyperbole in that. We all remember, you're smarter than me, but the professor at Harvard who was like arrested or held by police
out of his own house
for trying to enter his own house.
Right.
And that became the beer summit with President Obama. I mean, no amount of success. And that's what's so unnerving. I think, you know, Senator Cory Booker, who was on the show, also talks about that. Like, no amount of success as a black man or woman or other protects you from racism.
It doesn't. And so because I have, for lack of better terminology, crossover appeal, because I can speak to everybody, I have to. So like, bring on the dumb questions, and I'll offer like as smart of an answer as I can hope for. Because if we don't have the courage to have dumb questions and incomplete answers, we'll be stuck. And who wants to be stuck in this in between? This sucks, bro. like we got to do better. And so that's part of the reason that like I'm at Kripalu, but also am doing this thing virtually, because I want to open the discussion of this. I mean, yes, this is a healing retreat for Black men here on campus, and the virtual component is a virtual meditation on the third anniversary of George Floyd's murder, or lynching, as we call it in Black community, because it was
and
a
that's
perfect
in like three days, right?
Yeah, so it's Thursday evening, and we encourage everyone to come, because it's going to be a beautiful experience. So everyone will be there. So Kripalu is hosting it in the main hall, like inviting everyone to come. All programming is stopped that evening, and we're all going to be in the main hall, which is like beautiful and kind of scary from a teacher's perspective. And 3 Black male teachers from different generations holding space for everyone. So holding sangha for every race, every person, every age. That's powerful, man. And it just creates conditions to normalize these conversations.
Well, okay. So on Thursday, on the anniversary of George Floyd's death, we can tune in and join you live.
Yeah.
So if we go, everyone is watching, everyone who watches later, we're going to share this a bunch. You know, make sure to fan Reggie, and then we can watch it Thursday. And you can set a reminder to get a reminder too. That's so important. I'll definitely be there. Thank you for offering that.
Mm-hmm. And the beautiful thing about that is, so it will be a room full of people from all walks of life, bearing witness in community and loving community to not just like 3 Black male teachers, but we're going to share from the heart, because let's just be honest, how many white people have a chance to hear what Black men think? Yeah, well, that was sort of you mentioned I could ask some dumb questions after I mentioned dumb questions. So that would be my first question, is like, in your retreat right now with these friends of yours, your community, these young or older Black men, what's going on that like we should all know about? What are they wishing we the wider world understood, or what is the healing that is happening or not happening? Like, how,
I guess just give us a window into that retreat or that healing or lack thereof.
Yeah, so it's beautifully non-structured, right? So we had sangha last night where, you know, we introduced ourselves and had some sound and it did some things like that. Today we had asana practice and just set some intentions about what we wanted. But what we're doing now is we were outside.
Nice.
We meditated outside.
Nice.
We went to the labyrinth and sat under trees and talked.
Yeah, it is so beautiful there, right?
Right. And think about, so we had people from all over the country who traveled to come here. And so to just be, the agenda is to sit outside and connect with another human being. That's nourishment. Right?
100%.
And that's all that we did today. And so we'll have other conversations, and I'm going to play some gongs and all these other sorts of things. But the goal is to just slow down so much so that you can calm the mind, rest the body, and then begin to heal from. One brother on the way here was tailed by a Massachusetts state trooper.
Jesus.
But, you know, it happens to us, right? So, but the second he came into the room, he said he felt lighter, right? So it's just holding space for him to be and not have to worry about looking over his shoulder or anything like that. So that's essentially what's happening on campus. And the virtual aspect of this is to create conditions for people to be in community with the discomfort of what we've experienced so that we can heal together, right? Because your healing is my healing. Like, me sharing wisdom isn't just for me, it's for all of us. And so, and when we don't know better, we don't do better until we know better, right? And so, like, the beautiful thing about Thursday evening is a chance to sit and be in community, to hear from Devin, myself, and Sean, and then, like, practice. There'll be like 30 minutes of practice, each of us in our different style, but in service to our collective liberation and modeling for the wider dharmic and yogic world. Black men can teach too.
Yeah, damn right.
Right.
So
right.
I grew up in the Buddhist community, and it was like, you know, 50% Jewish in America, 50% Jewish, and like 49% other white. And, you know, that's a bit of an exaggeration. You know, there was a healthy South American community, European communities, all this, but there was always this, I think, well-intentioned and genuine sort of hand-wringing where people were saying, you know, where are the people of color? Why are they not interested? And the answer I always heard from the few members of our community who are of color was like, look, most of our brothers and sisters, like, frankly, haven't got here yet. Like, we don't have time for meditation, yoga and stuff. We're getting tailed by the state trooper, you know, like, we're dealing with systemic racism and hundreds of years of that. First of all, like, you're, you know, this is 20 years later than what I'm talking about, but you're a huge exception in that. Are you finding that the communities of color are enjoying and getting access to the tools of meditation, yoga more often now?
Well, representation matters.
Yeah.
Right? So if I don't see a teacher, I mean, like I said, like we were talking pre-production, I'm glad I grew up in the burbs and, you know, went to an Ivy League school because I am comfortable in all these environments. But not everyone has that opportunity, that benefit. So for some people, they need to see a teacher who looks like them, who speaks in their cadence, in order for them to understand that dharmic wisdom or yogic wisdom is applicable to their circumstance, right? And so in that vein, I'll give you an example. Like in the retreat here, there's some people who are hardcore practitioners. There's some people who've never practiced yoga or meditation in their life. So as a teacher, it's a blessing to teach something so simple that a beginner and an advanced practitioner can take something out of it. It keeps me on my game to make it relevant.
Hell yeah. I mean,
right?
You love that stuff. I love that stuff too. Like,
yeah, absolutely. We've talked about that before.
Like, teach in a way that's accessible and from the ground up, but also like is spicy and, you know, has something to it for the people who have been doing it forever. I mean, that's the art.